This video is based on an actual reported encounter. All names have been changed for privacy. You can still see the disbelief in Jake's eyes as he is trying to find a way to put his terrifying experience into words. He started explaining that it was March when his friend Mark and Mark's wife Janet moved into the house in Mechanicsburg, Ohio, where the nightmare occurred. He and Mark had spent the day moving the remaining belongings from the old location to the new one. Helping them move into their new residence had seemed like a routine task at first. However, as they sat down for supper, Janet started talking about the howls they had been hearing from the woods behind the house during the 2 weeks they had been there. Jake, having hunted since he was a kid, said it was probably coyotes, as they're known for being in this area. But Mark spoke up, saying it sounded like something bigger than coyotes. The conversation soon moved on to other things. Curiosity was getting the best of Jake, and he wanted to take a look around to see if he could find any tracks or something that might tell him what they were hearing. Once they were done eating, he and Mark decided to take a quick look in the woods, seeing a deer that still had its spots as they entered the tree line. The woods were somewhat dense, so they brought a flashlight and a can of spray paint to mark their path. He said they had been walking through the trees for around 15 minutes when they came upon a strange tree structure. It looked as if someone had taken branches and leaned them against a tree. At first, they thought maybe teenagers playing around, but soon realized many of the branches were too big and heavy for that to have been the case. They continued on, and about 10 minutes later a loud howl came from the distance. Mark looked at him and said that's what they had been hearing. He shook his head, saying, "No, that's deeper tone than a coyote howl." Jake said that howl brought an odd chill to him that he couldn't shake. After hearing that, not having a weapon on them, and sunlight now almost gone, they decided to head back home. As they were approaching the house, another louder and closer howl echoed through the air. They both looked at each other, glad to be entering the house. They convinced him to stay the night, since he lived over an hour away. That night, as Jake lay awake staring at the ceiling, he heard the sound of splintering wood outside. He remembers thinking an old tree just lost a branch. He laid there, just beginning to doze off, and noticed the moonlight that had been shining on the ceiling had gone dark. He looked up at the window and was in disbelief at what he was looking at. A huge, fur-covered beast with somewhat human-like features was peering into the room with unsettling curiosity. With a shout, Jake yelled for Mark as he was running out of the room. Racing back to Jake's room, they found nothing but an empty window. The creature vanished into the night. He felt like he sounded like a blathering idiot, but his thoughts were scattered as he was telling them what he had seen. He said he just couldn't believe he had just seen a Sasquatch like he'd seen in the movies. Janet put on a pot of coffee and they stayed up until morning. As the first light of dawn painted the sky, they ventured outside, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of the previous night's events. Their search yielded unsettling discoveries. A massive tree limb lay across their path, blocking the route they had taken into the woods. Patio furniture lay overturned, bearing witness to the visitors' presence. But despite their best efforts, they found no footprints, as the ground was frozen solid by the cold March weather. Throughout the 5 years Mark and Janet lived in the residence, they shared stories of strange noises that they would hear from the woods. They were glad they never had another actual sighting of the creature. Jake said this made him think twice every time he would go hunting, wondering what he might run into. When he's out in the woods, he said he's always sure there's a Bigfoot out there with him. The Bigfoot's eyes are embedded into his memory, even though it's been 10 years since the encounter. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoyed the video. If you've had an encounter with a Sasquatch, let us know in the comments. Remember to like the video and subscribe to our channel, Dreamscape Horrors, as there's much more to come.